My name is Linda, and at 56 years old, I thought I had seen everything life could throw at me. I raised a beautiful daughter, survived the loss of my husband, and built a quiet, peaceful life in Austin, Texas. But nothing prepared me for the night my son-in-law threw a glass at my face and called me a servant. That moment changed everything. Before I tell you what happened next, I would love to know where you are watching this from. If you have ever felt disrespected in your own home, go ahead and hit that like button. Subscribe, because this story is about finding your strength when someone tries to take it away. Now let me tell you about the night I realized sometimes you have to fight back. I have lived in the same two-story house in Austin for 32 years. My late husband Frank and I bought it when our daughter Amanda was just a baby. The house has a big backyard where Amanda learned to ride her bike, a kitchen where we made countless Sunday dinners, and a living room filled with memories. Frank passed away 5 years ago from a sudden heart attack. He was only 53. For a while I did not know how to move forward, but Amanda was there for me every step of the way. She had just graduated from college and was starting her career in marketing. We became even closer after Frank died, just the two of us navigating life together. I spent 30 years as a nurse in the emergency room at one of Austin's largest hospitals. I retired 2 years ago, ready to enjoy a quieter pace. My days became filled with yoga classes at the community center, tending to my garden full of tomatoes and roses, and volunteering at the local food bank. I also spent time with my friends Patricia and George. Patricia was 60, a former nurse I worked with for 15 years. George was my neighbor, 62, a retired teacher who lost his wife to cancer 3 years ago. The three of us often had coffee together on Saturday mornings. Amanda was the light of my life. She was smart, kind, and had a laugh that could fill a room. She worked hard at her job and was doing well. I was so proud of her. Then 2 years ago, she met Kyle Bradford. He was 32, worked in finance, and made good money. When Amanda first introduced us, Kyle seemed charming. He was tall with blonde hair, always dressed in expensive suits, and had a confident smile. He took me out to dinner at a nice steakhouse and complimented everything from the wine choice to my dress. He told me how much he loved Amanda and how lucky he felt to have found her. They dated for a year before getting engaged. The wedding was beautiful, held at a resort outside the city with about 100 guests. I walked Amanda down the aisle since Frank was not there to do it. Seeing her in that white dress so happy made me cry. Kyle seemed attentive that day, dancing with Amanda, thanking me for raising such an amazing woman. I thought my daughter had found her happily ever after. After the wedding, Amanda and Kyle moved into a luxury apartment about 15 minutes from my house. Kyle came from a wealthy family in Dallas, but he rarely talked about them or visited. His parents came to the wedding, but left early. I found that odd, but I did not ask questions. For the first few months, everything seemed fine. Amanda and Kyle would come over for dinner once a week. Kyle would talk about his work, his big deals, his successful clients. He always made sure everyone knew how well he was doing. But around 6 months into the marriage, I started noticing changes. Small things at first. Kyle would snap at Amanda over minor issues. One time Amanda forgot to pick up the specific brand of beer Kyle liked from the store. He looked at her across my dinner table and said in a cold voice, "Can't you do anything right?" Amanda laughed it off nervously and said, "He's just stressed from work." I felt a chill run down my spine, but I told myself it was nothing. Then Kyle started drinking more. Every time they came to my house, he would ask for whiskey. Not just 1 glass, but 3 or 4 throughout the evening. I would pour them trying to be a good host, but I noticed his tone changed with each drink. He stopped saying, "Please" or "Thank you." He would just hold out his glass and say, "Get me another drink." Like I was hired help instead of his mother-in-law. Amanda would give me apologetic looks, but she never said anything to him. The way Kyle treated me started to bother me more and more. He stopped calling me Linda or Mum. He would just say, "Hey," to get my attention, like I was a waitress. When I cooked dinner, he would critique everything. "This steak is too tough. You should cook it less." Or, "This salad needs more dressing. Didn't you know that?" I bit my tongue because I did not want to make things difficult for Amanda. But inside, I was getting angry. One afternoon, I decided to visit Amanda unannounced. I had made extra cookies and wanted to bring some over. When I got to her apartment, I used the spare key she had given me. I walked in and heard crying coming from the kitchen. I found Amanda sitting on the floor, tears streaming down her face. A broken plate lay in pieces beside her. I rushed to her side and asked what happened. Through her sobs, she told me she had accidentally dropped the plate while washing dishes. Kyle had yelled at her, calling her clumsy and useless. Then he said something that made my blood boil. He told her, "You're so clumsy. No wonder your father left you." Frank did not leave us. He died. But Kyle twisted it into something cruel just to hurt Amanda. I wanted to march into their bedroom, where Kyle was, and tell him exactly what I thought of him. But Amanda grabbed my arm and begged me not to. "Please, Mom, don't make it worse. He'll calm down. He always does." I helped her clean up the broken plate, but my hands were shaking with anger. As I drove home that day, I realized something terrible. My daughter was in an abusive relationship. Not physical abuse, not yet, but the emotional kind that tears you down piece by piece until you do not recognize yourself anymore. Over the next few weeks, I watched Amanda change. She stopped meeting her friends for brunch like she used to. When I asked why, she said Kyle did not like it when she went out without him. She had to text him constantly when we had lunch together, telling him where she was and when she would be home. If she took too long to respond, he would call repeatedly until she answered. I saw the anxiety in her eyes every time her phone buzzed. I tried talking to her about it. We met for coffee one afternoon, and I said gently, "Honey, this is not healthy. He's controlling you." Amanda shook her head quickly. "You don't understand him, Mom. He loves me. He just worries because his last girlfriend cheated on him. He's protective, that's all." I wanted to scream that protection and control were not the same thing, but I could see she was not ready to hear it. She had convinced herself that his behavior was normal, even loving. I started doing research on emotional abuse. I read articles, watched videos, talked to a counselor at the Women's Center where I volunteered. Everything I learned confirmed my fears. Kyle was textbook. He isolated Amanda from her support system. He criticized her constantly to damage her self-esteem. He used guilt and blame to make her feel responsible for his moods. And the drinking made everything worse. Thanksgiving came, and Amanda and Kyle joined me, Patricia, George, and a few other friends for dinner. I cooked a turkey with all the traditional sides. Everyone was having a nice time until Kyle had too much to drink. He sprawled out on my sofa shoes, still on, and called Amanda over. In front of everyone, he told her to massage his feet. "They're sore from standing all day," he said loudly. Amanda's face turned red with embarrassment, but she knelt down and did it. I felt humiliated for her. Patricia caught my eye from across the room, and I could see she was just as shocked. But we said nothing because we did not want to embarrass Amanda further. At Christmas, Kyle did not buy Amanda a single gift. When she looked hurt, he said, "I already give you everything. What more do you want?" She tried to smile, but I saw tears forming in her eyes. I gave her extra presents that year, trying to make up for his thoughtlessness, but gifts could not fix what was broken in her marriage. For Amanda's 28th birthday in March, I threw her a small party at my house. Just Amanda, Kyle, Patricia, and George. I baked Amanda's favorite chocolate cake and bought her a beautiful bracelet I knew she had been wanting. Kyle showed up late and did not bring a card or a gift. When Amanda gently asked if he had gotten her anything, he shrugged. "Your birthday is not a big deal. You're not a child anymore." The light went out of her eyes. I wanted to throw him out of my house right then, but again I held back for Amanda's sake. That night after they left, I sat alone in my living room and cried. I felt helpless. My daughter was suffering, and I did not know how to save her. Patricia called me the next day. She had seen everything at the party. "Linda," she said, "you need to do something. That man is destroying her." I agreed, but I did not know what that something should be. I felt like my hands were tied. Then came the night that changed everything. It was a Friday in early April. I had invited Amanda and Kyle over for dinner, along with Patricia and George. I wanted the company of my friends as a buffer. I made steak mashed potatoes and a fresh salad. I set the table nicely with candles and my good dishes. I was hoping for a pleasant evening, maybe even a chance to talk to Amanda alone at some point. Amanda and Kyle arrived at 6. I could smell alcohol on Kyle's breath as soon as he walked in. He had been drinking before he even got to my house, but he seemed to be in a decent mood, so I tried to stay optimistic. Patricia and George arrived shortly after. We all sat down at the dining room table. At first, the conversation was light. We talked about the weather, some local news, and George's new project, restoring an old car. Kyle asked for whiskey before we even started eating. I poured him a glass, a generous amount, hoping it would be enough. We began dinner. The steak was cooked perfectly medium rare, just how everyone liked it. Patricia complimented the potatoes. Amanda seemed tense, but was trying to enjoy herself. Then Kyle drained his glass and held it out to me without a word. I refilled it. He drank that one quickly too. As the meal went on, Kyle got louder. He started talking over everyone, bragging about a big deal he closed at work. He was not listening when anyone else spoke. He would interrupt mid-sentence to tell another story about himself. George tried to change the subject to ask Amanda about her job, but Kyle cut him off. "Amanda's job is not that interesting. Let me tell you about mine." Kyle held his glass out a third time. I hesitated. He had already had quite a bit to drink, and his words were starting to slur. I said as kindly as I could, "Kyle, maybe you should slow down. You've had quite a bit." His eyes snapped to mine. They were bloodshot and unfocused. "I didn't ask for your opinion," he said sharply. "Pour the drink." Amanda reached over and touched his arm. "Kyle, honey, maybe Mom is right. We have to drive home later." He yanked his arm away from her. "Stay out of this, Amanda." His voice was hard and mean. I felt my heart start to race. I put the whiskey bottle down on the table. "I think you've had enough," I said calmly but firmly. Kyle pushed his chair back and stood up. He was unsteady on his feet. "Who do you think you are?" His voice was rising. "This is my house too." I stood my ground. "No, Kyle, this is my house, and I'm asking you to respect my decision." The room went silent. Patricia and George were frozen. Amanda looked terrified. Kyle's face turned red. He picked up his empty whiskey glass and stared at me with pure rage. Then he shouted words I will never forget. "You're just a servant. Servants must obey." And he threw the glass directly at my face. Everything seemed to move in slow motion. I saw the glass spinning through the air toward me. I ducked to the side just in time. The glass missed my head by inches and smashed into the wall behind me. The sound of shattering glass echoed through the dining room. For a moment, no one moved. We all just stared at the broken pieces on the floor and the crack in my wall where the glass had hit. Patricia gasped and stood up. "What is wrong with you?" she shouted at Kyle. George moved quickly, positioning himself between Kyle and me. "You need to leave," George said in a low, dangerous voice. "Right now." Kyle pointed a shaking finger at me. "She disrespected me in front of everyone. She had no right." I found my voice, though my whole body was trembling. "Get out of my house!" My words were quiet, but steady. Kyle laughed a bitter, ugly sound. "Fine. Come on, Amanda. We're leaving." Amanda stood up, tears running down her face. She looked at me with so much pain and guilt. "Mom, I'm so sorry," she whispered. But she followed Kyle to the door. I wanted to grab her and keep her safe, but I knew I could not force her to stay. They walked out, and I heard Kyle's car engine start a moment later. I stood there still shaking. Patricia rushed over and hugged me. "Are you okay? Did any glass hit you?" I shook my head. "I'm fine. It missed me." George was already picking up the pieces of broken glass from the floor. "Linda, you need to call the police," he said. "That was assault. He could have seriously hurt you." But I held up my hand. "Not yet. I have a better plan." Patricia and George looked at me confused. I walked over to the wall and looked at the crack the glass had made. Something inside me shifted in that moment. All the fear I had been feeling turned into something else. Fury and determination. Kyle thought he could treat me like a servant. He thought he could throw things at me in my own home and get away with it. He was wrong. As I watched their car pull away, I felt a strange calm settle over me. I knew exactly what I was going to do. Kyle had just made the biggest mistake of his life, and he was going to pay for it in ways he could not even imagine. After Patricia and George left that night, I sat alone in my dining room. I swept up the last tiny shards of glass from the floor and stared at the crack in my wall. It was physical proof of what had just happened. My hands had stopped shaking, and my mind was clear. 30 years working in emergency rooms had taught me how to stay calm under pressure. I needed to think strategically, not emotionally. I went to my bedroom and got out a notebook. I wrote down exactly what had happened while every detail was still fresh. The time, what Kyle said, what he did, who witnessed it. Then I wrote down my goals. First, I wanted Kyle to face legal consequences for what he did. Second, I needed Amanda to see the truth about her husband. Third, I had to protect both of us from him. This was not just about revenge. This was about safety and justice. The next morning, I called Patricia. "Do you or George have any video or photos from last night?" I asked. Patricia said she did not, but George might. She called him on three-way. George said, "Actually, yes. I was recording a little bit on my phone earlier in the evening. I had a feeling something might happen, so I kept it running. I got the whole thing. Kyle yelling, throwing the glass, everything." Relief washed over me. "Can you send that to me?" George said he would send it right away. Within minutes, I had the video on my phone. I watched it 3 times. The footage was clear. You could hear Kyle yelling, "Servants must obey," and see him throw the glass. You could see me duck and the glass smash into the wall. It was perfect evidence. Next, I took photos. I photographed the crack in the wall from multiple angles. I gathered the broken glass pieces I had saved and photographed those too. I wrote out my statement of events with dates, times, and the names of witnesses. I was building a case just like the police procedurals I watched on television. Then I called my lawyer, Barbara Hayes. Barbara was in her early 50s, sharp as a tack, and had helped me with Frank's estate after he passed. I trusted her completely. "Barbara, I need your help with something serious," I said. I told her the whole story. There was silence on the other end of the line when I finished. Then Barbara said, "Linda, what he did is assault. You can press charges. With video evidence and witnesses, you have a strong case." "I want to do more than press charges," I told her. "I want a restraining order, and I want to help my daughter get away from him safely." Barbara asked me to come to her office on Monday. We would go over everything and make a plan. I hung up feeling empowered for the first time since the night before. That Sunday afternoon, I called Amanda. She answered on the 5th ring. Her voice was hoarse like she had been crying. "Mom!" she said, and immediately started sobbing. "I'm so sorry. I don't know what came over him. He was so drunk. He feels terrible." I took a deep breath. "Honey, this is not the first time he has been cruel, and it won't be the last unless you do something about it." Amanda was quiet. I continued. "I need to see you, alone, without Kyle." She hesitated. "Kyle won't like it if I meet you without telling him." My heart broke hearing her say that. "This is not about what Kyle likes. This is about you and me. Please, Amanda. I'm your mother. I love you. Just meet me for coffee." Finally, she agreed. We met at a cafe near her apartment an hour later. When Amanda walked in, I barely recognized her. She looked so thin and tired. Her eyes were puffy and red. Dark circles underneath told me she had not been sleeping. We sat down, and I took her hands in mine. "Tell me the truth. Has he hurt you physically?" Amanda shook her head quickly. "No, not like that. But he says things, Mom. Terrible things. He calls me stupid, useless. He says I'm lucky he married me because no one else would want me." Tears spilled down her cheeks. "And after he says these things, he always apologizes. He brings me flowers and says he'll change. But then it happens again." "That's called the cycle of abuse, honey," I said gently. "And it only gets worse." I pulled out my phone and showed her the video George had taken. Amanda watched in horror as she saw her husband yell and throw the glass at me. She covered her mouth with her hand. "I can't believe he did that to you," she whispered. "Believe it," I said. "And if he can do this to me, what will he do to you when no one is watching?" Amanda started crying harder. "I'm scared, Mom. I don't know what to do. I love him, but I'm so tired. I'm tired of walking on eggshells. I'm tired of being afraid." I squeezed her hands. "I know you're scared, but you don't have to do this alone. I'm here, and we're going to figure this out together. I have a plan, but I need you to trust me." Amanda looked into my eyes, searching. Then she nodded. "Okay, what do we do?" I told her about Barbara the lawyer. I told her we were going to press charges against Kyle and get a restraining order. I also told her she needed to leave him, and I would help her do it safely. Amanda was terrified, but I could see a tiny spark of hope in her eyes. For the first time in months, she was not alone in this fight. Over the next few days, Amanda and I worked with Barbara. We also connected Amanda with a counselor who specialized in domestic abuse. Amanda started attending a support group for women in similar situations. She began to understand that what Kyle was doing to her was not love. It was control. She was not crazy or too sensitive. She was being abused. Together we made a safety plan. On Thursday morning, while Kyle was at work, Amanda would pack her essential belongings and move back in with me. At the same time, a process server would deliver legal papers to Kyle. The papers would include my assault charges, a restraining order, preventing him from coming near me, and Amanda's petition for separation. Wednesday night, I barely slept. I kept thinking about what Kyle's reaction would be. Would he be angry? Violent? I made sure my doors were locked and my phone was charged. George, who lived 2 houses down, told me to call him immediately if I needed anything. Patricia checked in 3 times that evening. Thursday morning arrived. At 8 in the morning, Amanda texted me. "I'm packing now. Kyle left for work an hour ago." My heart raced. "Be quick and be safe," I texted back. At 9:30, Amanda arrived at my house with 2 suitcases and a box of her most important things. She looked exhausted but relieved. I hugged her tight. "You're safe now," I whispered. You're home." At exactly 10 in the morning, a process server knocked on Kyle's apartment door. Kyle had gone back home after his morning meeting. He opened the door, probably expecting a delivery. Instead, a man in a suit handed him a large envelope. "Kyle Bradford?" the man asked. "Yes," Kyle said, confused. "You've been served," the man said, and walked away. Kyle stood in his doorway staring at the envelope. He opened it slowly. Inside were several documents. The first was a formal complaint of assault filed by me, Linda Harrison, against him. It detailed the incident from Friday night, including the video evidence and witness statements from Patricia and George. The second document was a restraining order. Kyle was prohibited from coming within 500 feet of me or my property. If he violated it, he would be arrested immediately. The third document made his face go pale. It was a petition for legal separation filed by Amanda. She was leaving him. The papers stated that she had moved out and was seeking to end the marriage due to emotional abuse and an unsafe living environment. All the evidence we had gathered was attached. Photos of Amanda looking scared and thin. Statements from her counselor. The video of Kyle throwing the glass at me. Kyle's hands started shaking. He grabbed his phone and called me. I let it ring twice before answering. "What the hell is this?" he screamed into the phone. I kept my voice calm and cold. "Consequences, Kyle. You threw a glass at my face and called me a servant. Did you think there would be no consequences? This is ridiculous," he sputtered. "I was drunk. I didn't mean it. I'll fight this." I almost laughed. "Go ahead and try. The whole thing is on video, a very clear video. Good luck explaining that to a judge." He switched tactics. "Where's Amanda? Let me talk to her." I said simply, "She's somewhere you can't hurt her anymore. She's done with you." Kyle tried to sound threatening. "You can't do this. I'll sue you. I'll take everything you have." Now I did laugh a cold sound. "My lawyer is very good, Kyle. And you're about to lose everything. Your reputation, your marriage, and possibly your freedom if you don't take this seriously." I hung up on him. My hands were shaking, but I felt powerful. For so long, I had watched Kyle bully and control my daughter. I had felt helpless, but not anymore. Now I was the one in control. Kyle tried to come to my house that afternoon. George saw his car pull up and immediately called the police, just like we had planned. 2 officers arrived within minutes. They informed Kyle that he was violating the restraining order and needed to leave immediately. If he came back, he would be arrested. Kyle argued with them, but the officers did not budge. Finally, he got back in his car and drove away. I watched from my window, Amanda standing beside me. She squeezed my hand. Over the next week, Kyle tried everything. He hired an expensive lawyer who attempted to get the restraining order dismissed. But with the video evidence, the judge kept it in place. Kyle tried to contact Amanda through her friends, but she had blocked him everywhere and asked her friends not to pass along messages. He even showed up at her workplace, but security escorted him out when Amanda told them about the restraining order. Kyle's parents called me from Dallas. His mother, Helen, said, "Mrs. Harrison, I'm sure this is all a misunderstanding. Kyle is under a lot of stress at work. He would never intentionally hurt anyone." I was polite but firm. "Mrs. Bradford, your son threw a glass at my face and verbally abused my daughter for months. This is not a misunderstanding. This is assault and abuse. He needs professional help." There was a long silence. Then Helen said quietly, "I had hoped he had changed." That comment made me pause. "Changed from what?" I asked. Helen sighed. "Kyle has always had anger issues, even as a child. We tried therapy, but his father thought it made him look weak, so we stopped. I'm sorry for what he did to you and Amanda. Truly sorry." I softened slightly. "Then help him get the help he needs now, before he hurts someone else." Helen promised she would try. But I knew ultimately Kyle had to want to change, and right now he was too busy being angry at being held accountable. Kyle's lawyer contacted Barbara with a proposal. If I dropped the assault charges, Kyle would agree to anger management classes and alcohol counseling. He would also agree not to contact Amanda or me. Barbara brought the offer to me. I thought about it carefully. I discussed it with Amanda. "What do you want?" I asked her. Amanda said, "I just want him out of my life. I don't care about punishing him. I just want to be free." I understood, so I told Barbara we would accept the deal, but with conditions. Kyle had to sign the divorce papers without any contest. He would give up any claim to anything Amanda brought into the marriage. He had to complete 6 months of anger management and alcohol counseling with proof of attendance. And he had to write a formal apology to both Amanda and me, acknowledging what he did wrong. Kyle's lawyer came back saying Kyle refused to apologize. I told Barbara, "Then no deal, we go to court." 2 days later, Kyle agreed to all our terms, including the apology. I think his lawyer made him understand that going to court with video evidence would destroy him. His company would find out. It might cost him his job. His reputation would be ruined. The day Kyle signed the divorce papers and the agreement, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. Amanda cried, but they were tears of relief. She was finally free. The written apology arrived a week later. It was stiff and formal, clearly written by his lawyer, but it acknowledged that his behavior was unacceptable and harmful. It was enough. Amanda lived with me for 3 months after leaving Kyle. Those months were hard for her. She went to counseling twice a week. She cried a lot. She had nightmares. She doubted herself, wondering if she had done the right thing. But slowly, day by day, I watched my daughter come back to life. She started smiling again. Real smiles that reached her eyes. She began meeting up with old friends she had lost touch with during her marriage. She joined a book club and a hiking group. She threw herself into her work and got a promotion because she was finally able to focus without Kyle's constant criticism hanging over her. The support group she attended was incredibly helpful. She met other women who had been through similar experiences. They understood what she was feeling in ways I never could. One woman, Sarah, became a close friend. Sarah had left an abusive marriage 2 years earlier and was now thriving. She gave Amanda hope that life could be good again. Patricia and George were wonderful supports too. Patricia would come over and cook dinner with Amanda and me, the 3 of us laughing and talking like old times. George helped Amanda learn how to change a tire and check her car's oil. "You don't need a man to do these things," he told her. "You can do them yourself." Those practical skills boosted her confidence in ways I had not expected. After 3 months, Amanda felt ready to get her own place. She found a nice apartment just 10 minutes from my house. It was small but bright with big windows and a little balcony. I helped her move in and decorate. We picked out cheerful yellow curtains for the living room and hung photos of our family on the walls. Photos of her and Frank from before he died. Photos of the 2 of us on vacation. No photos of Kyle. Amanda also started dating again cautiously. She met a man named Tom through mutual friends. Tom was kind and patient. He worked as a teacher and loved hiking and cooking. When he met me for the first time, he shook my hand respectfully and said, "It's wonderful to meet you, Mrs. Harrison. Amanda talks about you all the time." He asked me questions about my garden and actually listened to the answers. The difference between Tom and Kyle was like night and day. I could see Amanda watching Tom carefully, looking for red flags. But Tom was consistent. He treated her as an equal. He never raised his voice. He encouraged her to spend time with her friends and me. When they disagreed about something, they talked it through calmly. Amanda told me, "I didn't know relationships could be this easy. I thought it was supposed to be hard." As for Kyle, I heard through mutual acquaintances that he had indeed started anger management and alcohol counseling as required by our agreement. His job performance had suffered during all the legal drama, and he was demoted. Eventually, he moved to Houston for a fresh start. I did not care what happened to him as long as he stayed away from us. His mother Helen called me about 6 months after everything ended. "I wanted to thank you," she said, "for doing what we should have done years ago." Kyle needed to face real consequences. For the first time in his life, he couldn't charm or buy his way out of trouble. His counselor says he's actually making progress. I told her I hoped that was true for the sake of anyone he might date in the future. But I also made it clear that Amanda and I wanted no contact with him ever. Through all of this, I learned something about myself. I learned that I was stronger than I thought. At 56, a widow living alone, I could have been an easy target. Kyle certainly thought I was. He thought he could intimidate me, disrespect me, even assault me without consequences. He was wrong. I also learned the power of taking action. For months I had watched Amanda suffer and felt helpless. But once I decided to fight back using the law and a solid plan, everything changed. I was not helpless. I had resources, friends, intelligence, and determination. That combination was powerful. I started volunteering more at the Women's Center, specifically helping women develop safety plans to leave abusive relationships. I shared my story with them. I told them about the importance of evidence witnesses and legal protection. I showed them that you can stand up to an abuser and win, but you have to be smart about it. One woman I helped named Julia was in her 40s and had been married for 20 years to a man who controlled every aspect of her life. She had no access to money, no car of her own, and was not allowed to work, but she was ready to leave. Together we worked with a lawyer and a domestic violence advocate. We helped her open a secret bank account, find a job, and secure a safe place to stay. The day she left, she hugged me and said, "If you could do it at 56, I can do it at 42. Thank you for showing me it's possible." That moment meant more to me than any thank you I ever received as a nurse. I was using my experience to help others find their strength. It gave my pain a purpose. As for George, well, our friendship deepened into something more. About a year after the incident with Kyle, George asked me to dinner. Not as friends, but as a date. I was nervous. I had not dated anyone since Frank died. But George was patient and kind. We took things slowly. We would go for walks, have dinner, watch old movies together. He made me laugh. He respected my independence. He never tried to rush me into anything. One evening, we were sitting on my back porch watching the sunset. George said, "You know, Linda, you're one of the bravest people I know. The way you stood up to Kyle, the way you protected Amanda, the way you turned that nightmare into something positive by helping other women. You inspire me." I felt my eyes water. "I just did what any mother would do," I said. George shook his head. "No, not every mother has that kind of courage. You're special." Amanda was thriving too. She got another promotion at work and was now managing a small team. She and Tom were serious, talking about moving in together. Tom treated her with so much respect and love. Watching them together healed something in me. I knew Amanda would be okay. Better than okay. She would be happy. 2 years after that terrible Friday night, Amanda and Tom got engaged. Tom asked for my blessing first, which I thought was sweet. The proposal was simple and perfect. They were hiking at Amanda's favorite trail, and Tom got down on one knee at the summit. Amanda called me immediately, after breathless and crying happy tears. "Mom," he proposed, and I said yes. I threw them an engagement party at my house. Patricia and George were there, along with Amanda's friends from her book club and hiking group. Sarah from the support group came too. It was a beautiful afternoon, filled with laughter and joy. As I watched Amanda and Tom dance in my backyard, I felt overwhelming gratitude. We had made it through the darkness and come out the other side. It has been 3 years now since Kyle threw that glass at me. 3 years since I decided I would not be a victim. Amanda is married to Tom, and they just bought their first house. They are talking about starting a family soon. The thought of being a grandmother fills me with joy. I still volunteer at the Women's Center every week. I have helped dozens of women create safety plans and find the courage to leave dangerous situations. Each woman I help is a reminder that my experience, as painful as it was, has meaning. It has helped others. That makes it worth it. George and I are still together. We have not gotten married, and I don't know if we will. But we are happy. We travel together, garden together, and enjoy our quiet life. He is my partner, my friend, and my love. After Frank, I did not think I would find that again. But life surprises you. Patricia retired last year, and the 3 of us. Patricia, George, and I have coffee every Saturday morning, without fail. We talk about everything. Politics, gardening our families, books we are reading. These friendships sustained me through the hardest time of my life. I treasure them deeply. I learned so many lessons from what happened with Kyle. I learned that respect is not something you should beg for. It is something you demand. I learned that standing up for yourself is not mean or selfish. It is necessary. I learned that love should never hurt, and if it does, it is not really love. Most importantly, I learned that you are never too old to fight for what is right. At 56, I could have accepted Kyle's disrespect. I could have stayed quiet to keep the peace. I could have told myself it was not my place to interfere in my daughter's marriage, but I did not. I fought back, and that fight saved both my daughter and myself. The crack in my dining room wall is still there. I could have fixed it, but I chose to leave it. It is a reminder that I stood my ground, a reminder that I protected my family, a reminder that I am stronger than anyone, including myself, ever knew. Sometimes people ask me if I regret how things went down, if I wish I had handled it differently. My answer is always no. Kyle needed to face consequences. Amanda needed to be free. And I needed to show myself and my daughter that we would not be victims. We would be survivors. We would be fighters. If there is one thing I want people to take away from my story, it is this. You always have more power than you think you do. Even when you feel small, even when you feel scared, even when you feel alone, you have power. The power to say no, the power to set boundaries, the power to protect yourself and the people you love, the power to demand respect. That night when Kyle threw the glass at me, he thought he was showing his dominance. He thought he was putting me in my place. But what he really did was awaken something inside me. He awakened my strength, my courage, and my determination. He thought I was just a servant who would obey. He learned I was a mother who would fight. I am 59 now. My hair is more grey than brown. My knees ache when it rains. But I have never felt more powerful or more free. I wake up every morning in my home surrounded by people who love and respect me. I spend my days doing work that matters, helping women find their strength. I spend my evenings with a good man who values me, and I spend my weekends with my daughter who is finally truly happy. That is my victory. Not revenge, but peace. Not anger, but freedom. Not bitterness, but joy. Kyle tried to break me. Instead, he made me realize just how unbreakable I am. And for that, in a strange way, I am almost grateful. Because now I know who I really am. I am Linda. I am a mother, a friend, a survivor, and a fighter. And no one will ever make me feel like a servant again. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever had to stand up to someone who disrespected you? How did you find the courage? Leave a comment below and share your story. And if this story resonated with you, please hit that like button. Subscribe to this channel for more true stories about finding strength in difficult times. Share this video with someone who might need to hear it. Someone who is feeling powerless and needs a reminder that they are stronger than they know. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for being here. I hope it gave you something to think about, maybe even something to hold on to if you are facing your own battle. Remember, you are never too old, never too tired, and never too alone to stand up for yourself. Respect is your right. Demand it. Fight for it. You deserve it. Take care of yourselves, and until next time, stay strong.